enjoyed Showdown at the Grand. And there's some great scenes with the sword. Just seeing that Western imagery with the sword is just inherently cool. You get to use a lot of weapons in the movie. What was the highlight for you in terms of the action sequences here?
Um, I guess just the idea of George battling, ultimately going and battling against Lynn and things of that nature. George, I don't think was a violent person. I think he's one of those people that was kind of just it's the falling down kind of syndrome that's happening to a lot of us. But yeah, I love the fact that George really didn't know how to use a sword at all. He was just a grown kid, just doing the very best that he could. So that was the beauty of the highlighted stuff for me was just the fact that this kid was not prepared to go to war, but was willing to do whatever he had to get to save his theater.
Yeah, and the movie industry is all over this film. It's about, an aging action star and this movie theater that is seen, is far past its glory days. What about those elements really spoke to you? Because being involved in the industry yourself, there's a lot to consider there.
Yeah, like here we are at the very end of the golden years of Hollywood, and we're seeing a lot of the individuals that we thought had golden parachutes. Those golden parachutes are completely gone. And you're left here in this industry that where no one's making money anymore. The theaters are now dying because the studios who used to use the theaters and primarily took it from the people and turned it into just a movie theater, whereas the theater used to be the center for all kind of commerce inside of inside of a business. Now it's just to make a little bit of money, and now that everything's gone to streamers, the theater owners are suffering the most, and the people and the culture will suffer the most because it's a lack of being centralized creativity and centralized responsibilities. Uh, we're lost. We're losing our culture and our tradition. That's what's happening by the death of the theater. And even though everyone has this immediate one-on-one media reaction with social media and things of that nature, reacting with yourself in the mirror is a lot different from reacting from your peers and your family and your neighbors when you have to look at them across the aisle in the theater as you discover everything else about you. If that
Yeah,
wasn't a right answer.
yeah,
Just
and like the film's kind of this one last hurrah for the theater and Dolph Lundgren's character, and you really get some really great action near the end in the back half. You get the kick ass alongside Dolph Lundgren. That doesn't get better than that, right?
no, it doesn't. And just the idea of what we were trying to do. And I'm a little starstruck in a sense of this moment because this is the very first interview of this character. I haven't, you're the very first person to interview this whole film. And it's kind of nostalgic for me because it's a kind of film I never expected to make, and didn't know how we were going to make it, but we I was so proud of it when I finally saw what we did and the heart that it has. That's what I loved about it. It may be corny in places, but it's just all heart, and that's what I loved about it.
Yeah, it definitely comes through in the film. And what really impressed you about working with the director Orson? Because the film really has a great style to it. I loved all the like film within a film aspects. All those were super fun. What really impressed you? You've been such a decorated actor.
Well, Orson was open to exploring. He wanted to make a badass character. He got up there and he was ready. He was ready for George just to go to war. And I I thought that George wasn't as skilled a fighter as Orson had initially in mind. And so I made George a little sloppier. And a lot of the stuff that he was doing happenstance, haphazardly, accomplishing his goals. And Orson was really open to that. You know, he was really comforting and understood the nature of what George was really fighting. You know, this autistic, cat, because he's definitely very, very autistic, high functioning autistic. But I loved his compassion and his understanding of an actor, of an actor's choice, not to be so John Wayne, even though at the end of the day he ended up being John Wayne in a sense.
Yeah, it's an interesting character because, like you're saying, he's definitely taking inspiration from the films that he loves so much, and it's fun to see him try to, act that way, even if he doesn't really have the skill or experience per se to pull it off completely. You see where he's drawing his strength from, and it's all about cinema. And I kind of like that theme of where it all connects back to the movies, and that's what they're kind of fighting for, that shared experience and what brings everybody to the grand theater as well.
It was great that Dolph was the one that had taught him how to shoot a bow and arrow. Dolph was the one that taught him how to shoot a sword, to play with a sword. Those are all the things that guy that he watched in the films from him. All of his motions and movements were things that he had actually seen in the theater. So I love the reflection of of joy, because that's what he's looking at when he looks in the mirror, and his emotional mirror. He's looking at um at himself, and the simplicity and the innocence of the child. And to lose that child as we get older, as we all do, that's pretty much the last thing that goes, and probably the last thing that returns right before you die. It's, that innocence of who you were before. If we can capture that and hold on to it, I think we'll be a much better society. It's when we forget the innocence that brought us to where we are that we end up, you know, dead.
And last year you spoke about retiring as an actor. Is that still the plan? Or are you looking to maybe be involved as a producer or creative in other avenues instead?
Well, I think that this is the last dance for all actors, for the most part. If you really think about the battle that's going on with Screen Actors Guild in the studios, the rights to our image, the rights to being able to maintain a character. But how do you do that when you've signed away so many of your rights? And the studios have taken advantage of it. It only takes a second for them to mix Leo DiCaprio and Al Pacino and merge their two characters with the AI and then create a voice for it. And now it's a composite work where they never have to pay these actors again. The actors aren't getting paid. So I think it would be nice to continue as a producer or something of that nature. But I think that's all being taken away from us at this point. I think this may be the last hurrah, before the machines take over. I mean, literally, the machines take over.
And then my last question for you, Terrence. You're such a huge part of kickstarting the MCU with Iron Man. It's been 15 years, and that really became a behemoth onto itself. I know that kind of ended on a sour note, but with like time removed, how do you look back on just that period? Like, are you proud of it? Is it like a Frankenstein's monster scenario? I'm very curious how you feel about that.
Well, I mean, I'm always going to feel a little this way and a little that way about it. My wife found the tag yesterday of from my suit, from my flight suit, where it said Rhodes. And I wish I could have just thrown it away. I wish I could, but there's still some identity of Rhodes for me. The fans loved it so much. And I go from being like, I don't care, and to, damn, I wish that had happened. It would have been really great. I love the fact that we kickstarted Marvel Universe. I love the fact that we made over $1 billion with that first jumping kick. So I'll always be proud of it, but we'll always wonder what could have been. I hear so many fans out there saying what they thought about World should be. And I know I said a few years ago, F Marvel or da 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 da. When I look back at it now, it's sad that it didn't happen the way we wanted it to. At just me being honest, without any guards up or anything, me being a little more George Fuller. You know, I I wish they didn't play dirty. I wish we had figured out some better way to do that.